Whoops. Oh, I took to plug it in for it to work. Oh, not. Okay. Welcome back after Mardi Gras. We went to the parades. All right. What's the best throw you got? That's a good throw. It's a good throw. That's a keeper. Okay. So I readjusted the due dates for 8 and 9 to be on February 27th, give everybody extra time. We're continuing on today, the theme of rasters. So last class, we kind of started to tackle lab 9 a little bit later. So if you haven't finished it, or you need help working on it, you can certainly use today's time to do that. We will be moving forward to talk about the second part of working with rasters. So data was all on Moodle. We're going to be working with sea surface temperature and chlorophyll remotely sensed images. Good morning. We have 3 exercises today. The first one is focused on basically reading in that NetCDF data into ArcMap and creating a point feature layer. The reason for this is we're just going to learn how to basically convert it to individual grid cells that has that information we need, whether it be chlorophyll or sea surface temperature. If you needed to export it, we'll do that as well, so that you can actually do analyses on those data. The second part, we're going to be essentially doing kind of the same thing, but in parallel in the R programming. So number 2 is we're using the exact same data that we're using in exercise number 1, but we're just using the R script that I provided to process it. You will rapidly see that R is much more adept and efficient at doing processing NetCDF files than ArcMap is. So I typically do stuff in R, and if I need to display it, I put it in ArcMap. So ArcMap, yeah. And then just to keep practicing, exercise 3 has you focus on sea surface temperature files. So you're going to have to modify that R script I gave you a little bit to make it work for that different set of data. So what do I need you to turn in? Okay. So I need you to turn in a file geodatabase that has all your rasters loaded into it from exercise 1. And then you're going to give me 3 CSV files. Each CSV file is going to contain the information that you extract from the NetCDF files. So you're going to calculate the mean standard deviation for the 7 days daily statistics there. So the CSV files will have that mean for each grid cell. Okay. So what am I talking about? To remind everybody about grid cells. All right. Oh, it kept clicked off. Hang on a second. Let me reconnect. Okay. So here we have an example of one of the files. This is, what is this? Yeah, this is it. Okay. So this is a little SSD file, and zoom in here. Something like over here. Okay. So we zoomed in real far. So the satellite assigns a lat and long to each one of these squares. And so you have 7 of those squares for the whole map. You're going to find the mean chlorophyll for the chlorophyll images, and then the mean sea surface temperature for the sea surface images for each one of these pixels, right? Because we get linear on top of each other, right? So you have daily data, you're going to create a weekly mean. And then it'll be associated with the lat and long, things like that. So just doing a little bit basically of raster map. Okay. So the other thing to point out is when the satellite goes over the ocean, oops, too far. There are clouds, which is why we have blank spots here, like the white, that's when there were clouds. But obviously it's not going to generate values for SST on the land. So when you look at your data set, don't get freaked out if you have a large number of NA values. Those are just the areas where you have clouds or there's land. So a quick check, and I think I put this in the file, is if you're like, oh, do I just have only NAs? Just do the summary function and it will tell you if there's actually numbers in there. If they were all NAs, it would just say all NAs. Okay, all right. So that's pretty straightforward. So we're just going to keep practicing. So I'm going to say, go ahead, let Lisa go ahead and conquer this. This should not take you that long, hopefully. Oh, yeah, it's a great question. Okay. So there was a question, I'm saying this for the recording, about batch processing, specifically clipping to the goal. Hide these. Okay. We'll go to toolbox. There we go. Okay. So I'm on data manager tools. Then I go down to raster. Then I'm in raster processing. And the tool that I need to just basically exclude all the other data is clip. So I'm just going to open the one shop before we do the batch one. Okay, so here we put in our input raster. Here you're going to save your output. Here you put in the bounding coordinates. So you should be able to pull those from the R script. Basically you're drawing a box with the northernmost and southernmost points and east and west. Oh, I'm so sorry. You pull this in if you have like a rectangle, but we're going to use the bounding coordinates. It's down here that you assign the name for the output raster. Okay. All right. So to batch process, we're going to right click on this tool and we're going to go to batch. So we have the same, this is just the help box and close this over. We have the same parameters here that we had in that other dialog box. It just looks a little different. So you can click on this and right click and it's going to bring up what raster you want to pull in. So if you wanted to add another line to this, basically add another data set, we're going to hit this plus button and it adds a second one. So you could add another different raster cell. So output extent, we are going to be using the bounding coordinates. So this is valuable if you want to not have to do that dialog box 7 times. Yes, pretty much is actually. Yeah. It really wants a shapefile to use to clip this by. You're not allowed to put in the grid cell, which is different. So here you can assign the output name, and we have to be, so you have to make sure that you use a different name so that it doesn't overwrite, right? Otherwise it would just overwrite it. So a good tip is just like keep it in the same directory and just like make it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in terms of your new stuff. So to use this batch processing, probably the most efficient way actually is instead of doing the coordinates like I gave you, is to draw a box to create a shapefile. Go back to my thing here. So if y'all remember how to create a shapefile, go to catalog, go to our data. It's like, I know I have lab 10 data. Okay. New, we'll make a shapefile. We're going to call this dome extent. It's going to be a polygon. I'm going to give it the coordinate source. This one is fine. Okay, now I'm going to go in editor and make it. Brush. And edit, start editing, grab my GOM extent. Oh, it's on there twice. Hang on a second. I goofed that up. Editor, start editing. Okay, so we've done this before when we're doing our land use files, etc. So we're going to go over to create features here on the editor toolbar. Select the one that we want to modify, which is our GOM extent. I'm going to make a rectangle. And I'm literally just going to draw a polygon over the area that I'm worried about. Save edits, stop editing. That's it. So now we got our extent. So now I can go back to that tool set here. So I'm back in that batch place. Just grabbing one. Open. So now my output extent is going to be that GOM extent file that I just made. Need to put this in a different place. All right, and okay, let's see what happens. Where did it go? Results. Current session. Did it disappear somewhere? That's weird. Where did it go? All right, try this again. Great. Throwing that in a geo database for a second. ST. Okay, should be in here now. Super weird. Where's it going? It says it's doing it and it's not saving it. Well, this is not cool. I do this all the time. that not working for anybody else? This process? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you probably have to change the colors. It's gonna default to probably something that looks like gray. So to make them colorful, go to the properties, go to symbology. Usually with rasters, I do stretched here under show. And then if you go under color ramp, you can select the rainbow that you want. Okay, let me come over and take a look. So the stretch type would be like standard. Okay, part I forgot to show you all. Properties. This we're under symbology, stretch type, stretch, and then you got to do the stretch type. So if you did none, it would be all one color. You need to tell it like how to basically redistribute the data so that you have basically different colors to have contrast. So one of my favorites is standard deviations. And then here under N, you can futz with the number of standard deviations. We can change that to 1 and change it to 3. And it's just gonna, I'll vary a little bit the level of contrast and the symbolic. There's other things you can do here, histogram, equalize. This is really just about what message, what story are you trying to tell with your map, right? In terms of symbology. That's just aesthetics. Okay. Okay, so here's our data folder. I'm in the SST folder. Okay, so I just pulled in number 286. Let me see what you have. I'm confused. Yeah. No. No. Oh. Okay, guys. So I just went into the chlorophyll folder. You have to process these files. They're NetCDF files. So that's why in exercise 1, you have to read in the NetCDF file for chlorophyll. It's not going to show up in your. Okay, so let's tackle this. All right. Do sequentially. All right. So in exercise 1, you have to read in the NetCDF file. So we worked on that. We're going to go to their toolbox. They're multi-dimensional tools. Where did that go? There we are. So we're down here. And we're going to make a NetCDF raster layer. So we're going to navigate to where our chlorophyll data is. So now I'm in my lab 10 data. So I'm clicking on the chlorophyll and we have a bunch of NC files here. So I'm going to click on one of them. Where did that go? Import. We did this last class. This is getting frustrating. It's like not doing it. Is it, oh, is it hiding this? It's hiding this somewhere. All right, let's see if this is where it's going. No, that's not what it was. So I can't tell if the tool is not working or it's deciding to hide my outputs in a bizarre place. So what I'm doing here is that's what I'm trying to debug. Like R, the places where data is stored are called environments. So if you look at the bottom of each of these tools, you're going to have a button called environments. So I'm clicking on that and I'm looking at the default workspace here. This is telling me where Arc is like, I'm going to stuff files in this thing. So like if you did not give it an output extent, like an output directory, it's going to store the output in this default workspace. So I need to change this. Again, trying to figure out where it's going. Put it in the right lab. Make the Scratch workspace the same. Okay. All right. Save. Shut this down. Okay. We restart. What is going on? Yeah. Yeah, that probably would be easiest. Yeah. And I always do one like the regular way, like a single way, just so that I get all the parameters I know right, because the batch processing dialog is it's kind of not very intuitive. Yeah. So Okay, so don't stress. There's not, I have to fix this. There's not 7 days of SST data. There's just 3. So you still can do the meets. I still want to process my NetCDF files though. Yep. Because each one is a different day. Hang on a second. Let me go look at the file naming convention. So now it works. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the directory like outside of ArcMap. I do apologize, it's tiny. If you pull up the file outside, it starts with an A, okay? So the year is 2017. And then that's 286 is the day of that year. So you have 286, 287, 288, 89, 90, 91, etc. The next little part is the type of data like processing that was used. So you'll see L3, that means level 3 processing. What that means is that they did all this cloud corrections and reflectance. It's not raw satellite data. So someone processed it to the point where you could see it. Then the frequency, it's at day, the variable, chlorophyll, and then the very last part, a little bit here, is the resolution. So it's at each grid cell represents 4 kilometers. Okay. All right. So now I got to load, which was surprisingly challenging. So I pulled one in and I've made it. So let me go to my table of contents here. Windows, table of contents. So pull that in. So now I'm going to try to do my clip thing. So we're under data management, rasters, raster processing, clip. That's the wrong one, Kelly. Okay, so I'm pulling in the chlorophyll layer and I made a rectangle, so I'll use that. Oh, let me go find it. Put it in the right directory. Okay, I'm getting a 999 error, so it wants to save it to the C drive. Repeat. All right, you want to save it to C drive? That's fine. Mm. I'm frozen my computer. Yes, Graham. No one told me. Wait, someone told me. Sorry, Bonnie. I just got that. It's a little late. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go find my file under my C drive. So that's where I had to put it. Here it is. I copy it, paste it into the place it's supposed to be. All right. There it is. And now I'm going to add this thing to my map. And so it's in black and white right now, and you see to the extent it's just the Gulf of Mexico. So I'm going to turn off the global one here for a second to enhance that contrast. Okay, I see perplexion. So let's walk around and get some. All right. No. Yeah. I the next thing. So we'll do that for all five, or should I do that step and then go to one? Like, do I do this? Yeah. So you want to practice, you can do those individual dialogue boxes. Yeah, so like the first step would be to take the NC file and make prep. And then the second step is, right, that the raster, so our data we want to flip, right? So then we do flip raster. Then what's the next one? Okay, and then you take that part and then cell statistics. Yeah, but only on the go platforms. Yeah. You don't want to do self-stat from the whole world. It will die. Well, it won't literally die, but it will probably just crack. How did it save them? Sure. Okay. Let's look at this. Oh, okay. So right now the format is NetCDF, and I have a sneaking suspicion this is, try to remember, this is the, you know how like when we bring in XY data from an Excel file and it has like the events label and it's like a pseudo shape feature. So it's like showing the data, but it's not actually a shapefile. Okay. That's the parallel here. We brought in the NetCDF data, but when we look at the properties, it's still in the NetCDF format. And we want to basically export it into a stable raster format, which is where the conversion to an imagine or .img comes into play. So this was the one that we just brought in. I'm turning this on. This is the global one. Data, export. Here you get to pick the format on the bottom right-hand side. I'm going to pick IMG, the imagine. That's great, Kelly. And then you can save, tell it where you want to save it. So we're going to go over to lab 10 data. Okay. And then you can do the name. I'll probably do like the day, which is like, I'm going to make this up, 286. Hit save. And now it's going to go to work. Would you like to add the exported data to your map? Sure. Okay. So I'm turning off the layer here. And you may notice that we have a different file extension. It's a bit tiny, but it has, instead of layer, it says .img. So we've created a stable IMG file that has a spatial reference and things like that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you exactly that file is okay, so still back to the oh, yes. Good. Start my yeah, I mean, yeah. What happened? Oh, yeah. Once you do not have to process something to see. Okay, so everything's so I think it's this. Hold it out. How about we haven't recommended anything. Just a lot. Okay, I finished this for the first one. So do you recommend like we do this for all 7 and then or should I do little? I mean, it's really like half of them. It doesn't matter. Really is. Okay. Yeah. This is what we're gonna do this again. I don't. That's the inside. Okay. Okay. All right. And now, so we did this, like, let's see. No, no, no. So for the only for the normal. That seems to be. Now I think that's Yeah.
I know what we.
Oh, yeah.
I did that. It's still.
You can make that. Okay, so let's see. So let's well, yeah, so like, they will pick that direction. Yeah. Everyone step, yeah. But that's where I was thinking. Yes. That's pretty.
When I tried to report this, they say save in C file.
Yeah, you gotta convert that line.
Okay. And then second, even when I just come back and edit and go not with this game, you can see the experiment.
I made that. That's not pretty much data management. That's. We don't, I mean, so you know what, I don't. You wanna convert to that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think that would work, like, better to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually. Being able to convert actually gets to items. Okay, let's see, so this is oh, it's not. Okay. It's okay. I can do that. Oh, yeah, where we get black. Okay.
No, we can have those. Because they get me.
Yeah, yeah.
Such fun. Now we're going to
So I experienced. Yeah. No. So I think that process. So I think that absolutely.
I just put this on.
Well, those were like.
Yeah.
Yes. Ideally, it's been. Oh, yeah.
But then you make a story.
Okay.
It's hard.
So like. Okay.
It doesn't have to be like.
I just don't know what. Okay, okay.
Yeah, like I would do it one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, having practice.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that here. Okay, so we're gonna talk about. That's what you put in, just to make that out.
Like I haven't done this yet.
Alright. Great. I know in the past times. Hello. No. So it's like brilliant. So. Start with that, or maybe we can say it's right now. All right, guys, we are at time. We're over in class. You need help, please come find me. I will be in the field tomorrow, but I should be around on Monday, hopefully if the field work goes okay.